Ben, as you just introduced me. And I'm from a company called SponsorPay. We're headquartered in Berlin. And our mission is to help developers monetize and distribute the apps. Distribute meaning acquire users. As Lionel just spoke about, it's quite difficult. Okay. Introduction is done. What I'm going to talk to you about today is a brief history about mobile user acquisition and what are your options today. And then how you can best acquire loyal users using the Insent channel. And then maybe we'll have some time for some questions and some answers. Okay, so before we had the App Store and before we had apps, we had user acquisition, which was mainly mobile content, so premium SMS and subscriptions, and maybe some slightly dodgy stuff. And then something happened. We all of a sudden had a touch screen, and something big was about to happen. And then in 2008, there was the birth of the App Store. And back then, user acquisition was pretty simple. You create a new app, you upload it to the App Store, and you get loyal users because there's nobody else around. And that worked pretty well for quite some time. And then all of a sudden, we have a massive app revolution. And thousands of apps entered the iOS App Store and the Android market, which is now known as Google Play. And all of a sudden, we have an issue. And the big question starts to arise. How does your app get discovered amongst thousands of apps? It's a challenging task, as you know. And then looking at the App Store themselves, the question is how do your users find you? And then if you would use search, or assume that search works in the App Store, I think you'll find that you'll have a problem with that. Because I actually spoke to Sergey from iFree yesterday in Moscow, and he confirmed that these numbers, that if you upload an app, and initially you manage to get in the top new apps in the App Store, what you will see is quite some traction, and you'll get downloads and so on. And as soon as that period is over, and you're taken off the top new apps, your new daily users just drop to nowhere. And the ratio in this case was about 25 times, and we can see that with all our partners. So you can try and improve search, and you can do some App Store, search engine optimization, but really you're on a level playing field, and there's so many apps that it's not really going to work. So really what people try to do is, and the only way to really get discovered was to get into top ranking, and that was the key to get users to find you and to download the app and so on. So what happened? All of a sudden everybody knew, okay, we need to get in these top rankings. People started buying incentivized installs. And what that meant was they would climb up the ranking, and as a result, other users would find them and download the app as an organic user and a spillover effect. Then there was a calculation made between how much does it cost to acquire a user, which I pay for, that gets me up onto the ranking, and I take the multiplicator that I make from the organic users that then start finding me, and I can make a calculation and find out what it is that I'm actually paying for a user. Now, this kind of was going on for quite some time, and looking at iOS and Apple in particular, this distorted the ranking quite a bit, because the iOS ranking is based solely on download numbers, and middle of last year, Apple said, no, we can't do that anymore, and started banning incentivized installs. On Google, it's a different story. For Google, it's a different story because their algorithms of ranking the apps take more factors into account, and therefore incentivized installs are still allowed on Android. Now, what are your options? And Lionel, you'll have to forgive me, but I'll sneak you in here somehow. So, in order to acquire users, what can you do? You can go on old school display advertising. But what happens there is you're paying for clicks, you're paying for views, but really what you want is users. So this is not a direct way of getting to what you're looking for. You can hire a public relations agency, or you can do some PR yourself, which is quite costly, and it might work or it might not work depending on how good the agency is and so on. And I suppose in this area could be your relationships that you build with companies like AppSoon, where you try and establish a relationship and showcase your app, which I think is a possibility, quite a good one. Now next, getting featured. Obviously, getting featured in the App Store, the Apple App Store, Google Play, is by far the best way to acquire users for, let's say, free. But it is very, very tough to do. It's you need to first of all, and I think that's the basis for anything. You have to start making great apps. And if you make a great app, and you try and establish a relationship, I suppose a PR agency might help you to get some traction and get noticed, and then establish a relationship with the platform managers, and maybe you can get featured. So anyone who's developing apps and trying to acquire users, that should be your ultimate goal, really. We can talk about later about how to do that in more detail. But the other way is you engage in performance marketing. And by that I mean you buy whatever it is, and you actually only pay for stuff that you actually want. So if it is an install, if it is a user that you want, then you will only pay once you actually have that user on your app. And then there's options there. It can be non-incentivized or incentivized. As we just said, that incentivized on Apple doesn't really work. As it happens, Sponsor Pay is actually focused more on Android, and therefore we can help you on that side. But then it's interesting to see what decision you would want to make. And I just wanted to highlight the difference between incent and non-incent. So first of all, to take a step back, what we mean by incentivize is that the user is rewarded in some form for downloading another app. That might be through virtual currency, that might be through unlocking premium content, or anything within an app that can actually help the user get on. And then the user goes and downloads another app. Okay, so comparing the two, on the non-incent side you have higher prices because potentially there's higher quality, as we see lower down, but there's a limited amount of volume. Now, the incent channel is a channel where you pay lower prices and you can push for more volume. But there's always been a discussion about whether you actually can buy quality when you are getting people to do something by giving them something in return. Is it actually a genuine user and a loyal user that you're buying in this instance? And I'm going to show you and argue that there are ways where you can actually buy quality using the incent channel. But you have to understand what it is that you are engaging in, and you have to address it and be clever about it, and use the channel to its advantage. So the answer, in my opinion, is that you should use both. And in fact, you should use the whole marketing mix. So all the channels that I showed up, but you should understand them. And now particularly, when it comes to incent, I said that we can achieve quality. And what I mean by that is you can actually get a user not only to install an app, but you can get a user to download the app and play it for level 1 or level 2 and use the incent to get an engagement, get an engaged user and actually use it as a tutorial. So you're giving the user something, and it's almost like a rich media kind of situation, but the user is engaged with your app fully. And now how do we at SponsorPay achieve quality? We have a discussion with you, and we say, we have a number of publishers where we can pour traffic towards you. And we start sending the traffic your way. And then we analyze, we take the data, and we discuss with you beforehand. We said, what is it that you want to achieve? And we start measuring. And in general, measuring and understanding when you're buying, when you engage in marketing, you should use analytics and try and find out what the sources, what is working for me, and so on, and understand how much a user is worth. So basically, once we've decided, okay, we're going to run this campaign, and we're going to send traffic to your app, with us, we analyze and say, okay, this publisher was good, we like it. This one was good. This one, not so much. And this one, yeah. And then we do a simple thing and just stop the traffic from that app. Now, this is something where although it's a user that comes to your app and does it because he got something in return, he still might actually like what he finds, because when you're building this app, you are making this app because you think it's a good app. And so these users that find your app will hopefully have that same experience. And there might be a fit, and there might be not such a good fit. And this is what we're trying to eliminate by going through this process. Now, onto recommendations about how you supposed to run, in our opinion, an incent user acquisition campaign. Focus on some key countries.
Please hold my.
Focus on key countries so that you can increase your return on investment. If you know that your app monetizes very well in Russia, then make sure to target Russia. And yes, I guess that's an obvious thing. Then once, like as we discussed initially, if you want to start the campaign, start spending money on getting users into your app. But once you initially got a certain boost and you managed to get in quite high up and discoverable in the top new apps rankings and so on, switch to some steady spending, some clever spending, where you try and really consistently ROI positive. And then what you can do is the users that you saw, okay, they came to your app once, you can retarget those users and not only get them just to open the app, but get them to player level and actually show them really what your app is about. And this actually, just the fact that a user comes and opens your app again has a positive effect, as we found and heard, backed up by several sources, on your Google ranking. Now, as I said before, make sure that you use the rewarded engagement as a tutorial and really take the user through. That's a big advantage of the Incent channel, that you can actually determine what the user does, and you only pay once the user has reached a certain level. So you don't have to pay if the user just downloads the app and throws it away and deletes it. But you only pay once the user has reached level 2 or level 3 or finish the tutorial and so on. And then, as with all good user acquisition campaigns, make sure that you optimize with your dedicated account manager, in our case. And that's it from my side.
Thank you, Ben. Вопрос, пожалуйста. Поднимайте руки.
Yep.
So you're mainly on Android today?
Yes.
Are they similar solution on iPhone? Even though it's supposedly forbidden, could you have the name of a couple of companies who do stuff in this field?
Well, I'm sure you're aware of Tapjoy. They were working quite heavily on incentivizing installs on iOS. But the issue is that they are running consistently into trouble with Apple. They're trying to stop them down. And recently, there was an article published in TechCrunch where, again, they were told to stop engaging in this activity. So it is an area which I wouldn't mess with Apple. That's all I'm saying. So yes, there's Tapjoy if you really want to buy incentivized installs, but they don't like it and they're actively working against it. So I don't think that's an area that I would recommend. But I mean, what we have, because we want to work with all partners. So even if you are on iOS, what we can do is we have a product that's called App Trailer, and that means that you can upload a trailer of your app, and we will incentivize the users to watch the trailer. And after the trailer is finished, we will just show the download page, and then it's up to the user to just say, okay, I saw this app and I watched the trailer and I'm going to download it, and that bit is non-incentivized. So that's the product that we have on iOS.
Еще вопросы? Okay, Ben, thank you very much.